I would definitely trust him.
To do transmission work?
No, to do like other stuff you need done.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's the one that sent us to Prince.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but he's a good guy. And
My
his,
guy's Matthew.
oh, okay, yeah.
And then I do, on the Pontiac, I do all the fun stuff. I've been fiddling with my carburetor for a few weeks now.
Well, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yep, I got my fancy air-fuel ratio gauge, and got a bunch of parts. I was all ready to sit down and give it some quality time, and then I was out lead footing it. Bang! Actually, it didn't make any noise. It just shifted, and then no power. So something burst, something let go over. It was always shifting stiff because we put in a shift kit, and it was a little more too aggressive than I wanted, and so I needed to go back and have them chill it out because every time it was shifting to drive under heavy throttle, it would chirp the tires.
Oh, wow.
Like there's no need
Right.
to chirp the tires at 80 miles an hour. It's just because the whole car would shake.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, okay, there's a part in this drivetrain that's not going to be happy getting slammed like that every time it goes in the drive. And this is what happened. It just eventually one too many slams. And
is it the original transmission?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's the original transmission I had for about 300,000 miles, and then it ended up, I lost first gear. It wouldn't go into first. I'd have to shift manually. And then it eventually I lost it entirely. And then I upgraded to a 4-speed automatic. Now, they didn't make a 4-speed automatic for Pontiac Le Mans. But they made it in the 80s that would bolt onto the Pontiac engine.
Oh, okay.
And it fits onto the drive shaft. And so the drive shaft fits in, and you don't have to cut the drive shaft shorter. The transmission mount, you just move it back. The rails in the frame under the body were already pre-drilled. So all you had to do was just use.
Oh.
And in the process, Kevin, I had to add a few parts because my engine ripped it up. Wow. So this is the guts of a valve body.
Oh.
Exploded view.
Wonderful.
So I've been looking at this, and the issue, I think there's a spring here that I need to change.
You think that's...
If he would have, if I'd have gone in and had changed this one spring, little 50-cent friggin' spring.
I'm sure Mr. Prince.
Now I'm gonna have to spend $500 to.
Sarah, excuse me. Do you want the keyboard? Yeah, I thought you might. You can put, okay. All right.
Mike's alive.
Yeah. I'm calling to order a meeting of Planning and Economic Development on Tuesday, April 18th, 2017 at 7:03 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. And if the clerk would call the roll, please.
Alderman Marianne Litzigoya.
Present.
Alderman at Large Dan Moriarty is here. Alderman at Large Brian McCarthy.
Present.
Alderman Tom Lopez. Here. And Alderman Ben Clemens is not here, and no other members in attendance.
Okay. Public comment? Seeing none. On our agenda this evening, we have two presentations. The first one is the Nashua Transit System 10-year plan. And Director Marchant, if you would like to join us. Yes.
Do we have enough light to be visible from the TV, or would they let us know?
Oh, they'll let us know if they, yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure we're not like ghosts or something.
They'll just show us in infrared.
Just my skull.
You took the mouse, right?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
I just didn't want to smash it on the ground like I managed to do about a year ago walking in here. So I'd like to introduce Camille Patterson, the Transportation Department Manager, and she's going to run with this.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
evening. Thanks for having us tonight.
Thank you for joining us.
I've been in this position for about 9 months. So I formerly, before this started, was working at the Nashville Regional Planning Commission. And funnily enough, actually was working on this project there before I transitioned into this. So I actually worked on it on both sides, on the city side and the Regional Planning Commission side. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about some of the highlights that are in, thanks. Are you going to toggle?
Either way, yeah. I think you can use
Let's do
that.
it. Oh, okay, sorry. So I'll give you some of the highlights that are in the comprehensive plan, and just stop me as we go if you have any questions, anything comes up. So we partnered with the Regional Planning Commission, started over a year ago, probably last January, I think, January, February, and we ended up wrapping this up in the fall. So tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the existing NTS services. Are you guys familiar with the existing transit services that we have? A little, okay, so we'll definitely go through those slides then. Talk a little bit as well about why transit is so important and look at some of the potential expanded services and maybe relevant in the city and the greater region. And look at our road ahead, what we're planning to do in the short and the long term. All right, so the first slide just highlights some of the things that transit does in an average year. So our number one priority is getting people where they want to go, and we're pretty good at that. We have a great staff, and many of them have been there for a number of years, 5 to 10 years, and we've got this part down. So that's great. We have over 400 bus stops in the city, and I like to highlight this one because I've been here 9 months, and I was surprised when I realized we had 400 bus stops. It's a lot. It's a lot of stops. In a typical year, we provide almost 500,000 passenger trips. We also provide 20,000 paratransit. So those are the demand response trips for folks who qualify for Adults with Disabilities Act, who otherwise can't take fixed route transit. And we provide a significant amount of free senior trips. And on our busiest routes, we're often questioned as to, what's our ridership during the peak service? And typically we have 20 to 30 riders per hour on our busiest routes. And those busiest routes are the 2 and the 6, which travel up to Amherst Street, out 101A, and then down Daniel Webster Highway. So basically your big retail corridors in the city. But the highlight is down the yellow text in the left-hand corner. So we're able to do all of these things, and we only utilize about 15% of our total operating budget from city funds. The rest of that, we're able to leverage Federal Transportation Administration funds, FTA funds. And we also have some contracts with local communities and some of the state agencies as well. All right, so the next 2 maps are our day routes and our night routes, just to kind of give you a sense. NTS's routes are designed specifically to make sure they go through the densest neighborhoods and hit all of the key retail centers in the city. And we do that pretty well. They've been laid out pretty strategically. And in doing so, we're able to be in pretty close proximity to schools, to daycare, senior facilities, and many job sites throughout the city. Weekdays, we start about 5:45. It's between 5:45 and 6, depending on the route. On Saturdays, we start a little bit later, 8:45, and service ends at 6:45 and 5:30 on a Saturday. And then we also offer the door-to-door demand response. Where the day service ends in the evening, we actually pick it up with the night service. And we go down to 3 routes in the evening. We have a central route, which covers the core downtown area, kind of up around Coliseum. And then we have a north route, which goes out Amherst Street, 101A, and then down to Daniel Webster Highway. And those 3 routes go till 10:45, Monday through Saturday. And that's designed to make sure that folks who are working at the retail centers, the mall, and any of those main commercial areas are able to stay and work till the stores close and, they finish up their business. And they can still get back downtown and get to their final destination. So this is a slide focusing on ridership trends. So this looks at, it might be a little hard to see, it starts at 1995 and goes till 2015 on the actual grid. And as you can see, in the last 20 years, ridership has essentially doubled. It's heaviest along Amherst Street and DW Highway, like I highlighted. That actually accounts for about 52% of all of our ridership. So in recent years, ridership has stabilized, but when you see that big swing, where it's increased kind of at the beginning of 2005-esque in there, that's when we added in new services. We established the night service, and we also decreased our headways. So on Route 6 and 2 that goes on those busy commercial corridors, rather than the bus coming every hour, it started coming every half hour. And with that, we significantly increased the ridership that we've had. All right, so this slide focuses on our fleet and our facilities. So we'll start with the fleet. We have 9 buses, 3 trolleys, and 9 vans. One of the buses is currently functioning on CNG, compressed natural gas. The remaining 8 buses and all the vans and trolleys are all on biodiesel. The new fleet of buses that we're going to be getting will all be compressed natural gas. As far as our facilities, we have the transit center, which is just outside City Hall. You guys have all seen that. It's our transfer station for all of the routes and our ticketing office. And then 11 Riverside Street between the police station and Nashua South. We have our maintenance garage, which is an 18,000 square foot facility, and we also have the admin building. And we share that, the other half of it is shared with Department of Public Works. So as part of the project, when the Regional Planning Commission started, they did a significant amount of outreach last winter. We typically do routine surveys for existing riders, but we wanted to see what potential riders will be interested in for services as well. So we went beyond just surveys on the buses. They advertise at high schools and schools throughout the community, but also to the region. So to communities outside the region, contacts that we knew, town websites. I don't know what other places they really
coffee
grocery
shops,
stores,
stores.
yeah.
Like we plastered the region with great posters.
Yeah, they were kind of creative. They were kind of fun. Like, the one with the disco ball is kind of an example of the sort of thing. It was supposed to be eye-catching, so people would stop and, take the electronic survey or fill them out by hand, whatever they wanted to do. So we divide this into current riders and potential riders. This slide's focused on the current riders. What we learned from our current riders, the vast majority of folks who currently use transit, they use it out of necessity rather than a choice. 73% said it met their current needs, and this is really significant. 20% people really requested service to Walmart, either in Hudson or Amherst, but there's no Walmart in Nashua, and they currently can't get to it on the fixed route. And there was also significant interest of getting to communities throughout the region. In addition, the Lowell MBTA station and also Manchester Airport. Now, when you look at potential riders from the other communities, 60% said that they would be interested in going beyond Nashua, maybe to Manchester, Lowell, or Boston. 74% said that they would use transit if it was available in their community. Interestingly enough, the potential riders were pretty interested in technology. So they wanted to see the ability to use their phone to either pay, real-time bus tracking, make sure that it was something that they could basically use their phone and easily get information about the system. 61% were interested in transit in Nashua and 52% within their community. So this map here shows ridership by bus stop for existing ridership. The key thing to kind of highlight on is the very busy stops, which is the large kind of dark red circle that you have on there. Obviously down in South Nashua around the mall and some of the plazas, like the Market Basket Plaza in South Nashua, are big bus stop destinations. And also in the middle of the map, Coliseum Ave and the Christmas tree shop area is really significant. And if you look out on Amherst Street, the Market Basket Plaza, the Technical or Community College is, and the last big bus stop at the end is West Side Plaza that has Pier 1 and another Market Basket. So I want you to take a look at this because this gives you a sense of where our busy stops are in the city. And as you can see, the bus stops are really designed well to make sure we're meeting that need. Now the next slide, the Regional Planning Commission, their GIS manager was able to do a pretty detailed ridership analysis. So they pulled out, it's a little bit light on this one. Can't make it darker, can we? Okay, well, focus on the areas that are gray versus green. They looked greener on my computer. So what she did was she looked at some of the demographic data, such as density, income, and then she also overlaid that with things like major attractions and retail and job sites. And what you see on that is a sort of heat map. So anywhere where you've got that gray-green, those are the areas that we perceive there to be the greatest need for transit ridership potential in the future. So as you can see, the city of Nashua is pretty well served with their bus routes. The other areas, and again, it just doesn't look quite as strong here, but 101A out towards Milford, and then Route 3 north into Merrimack, and Route 3 and Hudson are the other areas that come up that they would really be well served by transit, and you would have ridership that would likely, support a transit route in those areas. All right, so when we look at options for expanded service, we focused on within the city, the greater region, and then beyond the region. So this is a combination of information that came from the ridership analysis that the Regional Planning Commission did, and also some of the feedback that we got on the survey. So earlier Saturday morning service has been requested for quite a number of years. People want to be able to start earlier than 8:45. So having that start at 5:45 or normal time has been a request. We'd like to see eventually getting access to the Crown Street Park and Ride with the rail. So when rail comes, we will just adjust our routes that are in that area to make sure that they accommodate the rail schedule. And then establishment of Sunday service. And I know Alderman Lopez was asking me about this before. The establishment of the Sunday service, that requires opening up our dispatch center on Sundays, because currently we don't have it open at all. So not insurmountable, but would require some additional funding to do that. The greater region, again, people have expressed going to Walmart. We have looked at going to the Amherst Walmart, and it would be really nice to make that connection at the end of West Side Plaza, kind of right now is our terminus of where we go, and making a half-hour route to Walmart and then doing a half-hour up to the outlets. That would be a nice kind of hour loop, and it would get people to other job centers and shopping destinations in the region. Also extending that out further west on 101A out to Milford, and again up into Merrimack and Hudson. And then beyond the region, places that people have requested, the airport in Manchester, some connections with Manchester Transit or Merrimack outlets, and if you could get to the outlets and then you could use that as a switching point and meet up with Manchester Transit, so people could get up to facilities up there, hospitals, job sites. And then we've looked at some seasonal options like Hampton Beach and Canopy to see what people would be interested in doing that. So I want to pull out one slide just focus on technology. Historically, NTS has focused a lot on safety, and we've done great strides in safety. And something that now I think we need to be focusing on is technology. You go into Boston and you get a Charlie card, and you have your card, and you get on the subway. A lot of places have the app, so you can actually see real-time bus tracking. You're standing at the bus stop, you can just pull up your phone and figure out when the next bus is coming. All of these things would be helpful for us to start considering. When I've done the research on this, it seems that depending on what technology you want to use, what company, the prices vary significantly. So I think this requires some additional time and research to see what the options are, but it's definitely something that's high on the priority list to investigate. And a benefit of a touch card fare system like a Charlie system, what you see here, would be that we could sell tickets in other locations other than just the transit center downtown. We've had some people say, hey, could we buy them at the grocery stores, which is a great idea. So that's something we want to look into. Real-time bus tracking would be great during bad weather. When there's snowstorms, the dispatch is answering phones constantly because buses slow down, traffic slows down, and people want to know where the bus is. Having an app on your phone to be able to tell where it is would be a huge advantage for that. And also Wi-Fi at the transit center is something we've had significant requests on. So the road ahead, the short-term items that we are focusing on now, we have plans to start a limited Hampton service this summer. So we're looking at going 4 days, once each month, June through September. And Manchester does this, Lowell does this, and for $5, people can basically get on the bus, go to Hampton, and not have to worry about parking. So we're looking at that. We'll be rolling that out in the next month or so. A pilot time for the real bus tracking, that's something we actually have in the works. So we're actually looking for people who'd be interested in doing that pilot with us. We need people to basically agree to use the bus so many times a month, and then we'll, in exchange for a free bus pass, and provide their input on whether they like the app or not. Limited service to Walmart is something we're looking at trying, something that we could start out doing a couple times a week for a limited amount of hours and see how successful it is and build upon it from there. We have been doing some significant increased marketing and outreach. We are required to do some of this through FTA. We also do travel training, and that is actually going out with people, meeting them, figuring out where they want to go, and helping them actually try it out. Go with the staff person, ride the bus. We find if people get over that hurdle, the anxiety goes away, and they usually are pretty comfortable using the bus on a regular basis. Other really significant thing is our bus and van fleet replacement. So we're going to be getting 8 new buses about the holidays next year, probably just after Thanksgiving. And then we're looking at getting 6 new vans about a year from now. The fleet we have is very old, and it needs to be replaced. So it's tough on the maintenance staff to keep it running, and they're very excited about having new buses, and I'm sure the passengers will be as well. Long-term improvements, we need to make some improvements at the transit center. It's a heavily used area. There's a lot of people coming in and out of there, and we need to be budgeting or looking for grants as to how we need to do an overhaul of the building internally. There's also some issues with the pavement around the outside of it. It's sinking. We need to really have an engineering study done to look at the drainage issues that are going on there, and it's not insignificant. So I've been keeping my eyes out for additional grant funding that might come out. It's a good chunk of change to do that. Service to the Merrimack outlets we talked about, Manchester Airport connections to Nashua Rail when that eventually comes, and the Lowell MBTA station, and then also electronic fares. So I think that was the last one I had. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to take them. Yes.
That chart that you had showing the ridership on fixed points and then demand.
Sure.
It looked like the demand ridership. I think it's before that actually. There were bar graphs. It looked like
Yep.
that the demand is dropping as we increase the service.
Yes. So historically, my understanding is when NTS started, it actually started out as a demand response service, and then we added the fixed route after the fact. So I think that is probably why you see a higher percentage of the demand response early on. What we try to do is give people the freedom and the education to use the fixed route. We find that most people, when they have the opportunity to use a fixed route, it gives them more freedom. It runs longer hours. They don't have to call before and schedule a trip. So I think some of that change you're seeing too is the education that staff has been able to do. Lately, we've actually had a lot of requests from, say, places like Plus Company. We did a training with one of my staff. People went out to Plus Company last night with a number of their clients, and the clients were actually saying that they ride the bus all the time. It's great for them. And so I think doing those connections, we're finding that sometimes in the staff in the social services community don't actually always know all the services that we provide. So we're trying to do more outreach in that and make sure that people who need the service are getting access to it. So if we educate potential riders and also the staff people that can get their clients on board, it works. Yes.
I know from personal experience working at Greater National Mental Health that trying to help people get out in the community and learn how to ride the bus and all that kind of stuff, once they get it, there's a sense of freedom. Like, now I can go do things
Yep.
that other people do. So I definitely support that. And I think adding that technology app to track where things are, it'll be really helpful in blizzards, in rain, that kind of stuff, because nobody likes slogging through the weather and then finding out you just missed the bus. But it'll also be really helpful for people with mobility issues to figure out how to time how long it'll take them to get down to a place so that they're not overdoing it and having to sit in the sun or stand in the sun or whatever.
Right.
While they're trying to do that. So there's a lot of people I think that would be in favor of that.
And I think that's just where people expect transit to be. If you go to a bigger system, people expect that to be there. So we should have that in our system as well.
I also think you're going to save a lot of people if you have multiple ticket locations, because there's always the guy who doesn't have the exact change and he's like, we're not downtown, so he can't actually get a ticket.
Exactly, yeah. So those are all things that, I think are very important that we need to be looking at in the next year.
Any other questions, comments?
No? Okay.
Oh, Alderman McCarthy.
I actually find it curious in the list of places you said people want to get to, that Manchester is not particularly on the list, other than connecting to the Manchester bus system.
It is.
No requests for the arena?
No, not the arena. I mean, people express interest in Manchester, kind of like the communities in the region. It doesn't elevate more so, which is kind of interesting. I mean, we still hear the connection to Lowell, too. My only thought on that is that more people are using the medical options that we have in Nashua and not necessarily going to Manchester for them. But I agree. The good thing, though, is we do have the connection with Manchester. I mean, we do work fairly closely with them anyway, and they're open to having more connections with us. So if we could go to the outlets and they go to the outlets too, it'd be a great transit point,
I guess I just would have expected there would be people who wanted to go either to Fisher Cat Stadium or to
Yeah.
the arena.
Believe it or not, Walmart. Walmart is definitely ahead of that. And actually, there are some advantages to going to Walmart. Our funding is also based on the revenue vehicle miles that we do every year. going out to Walmart gives us more miles. I know when I've sat through presentations from transit specialists, they basically say the number one thing you can do to increase ridership on your system is to provide access to a Walmart. So I think doing a pilot and we see how successful we are and then grow from that, it's what our ridership wants. It would make people happy, and it also provides access to jobs if you decide to work there too.
Alderman Lopez.
I'm pretty confident that if you added the Hudson Walmart to your loop, a lot of people would use it because it's like within sight, but you have to get off the bus and then get all your stuff, walk across the whole bridge again. So people would love to go, they
Right.
just can't quite pull it off.
Yep.
But the other thing is we do have a connection with Manchester, and by virtue of that, also Concord. You can take the Nashua bus to the Christmas tree shop, and there's certain points of the schedule that intersect with the Manchester bus
Yeah.
dropping off in Nashua. It takes you back to the center of New Hampshire, and then that also intersects with the Concord one. So you can do it, but all of those are not really well orchestrated, and that's no shade on our program. That's the Manchester program doing it, but you have to, if anyone out there is planning a trip, make sure you know where your connectors are, because some of them are within minutes of your drop off. You have to be you have to know exactly where you're going, but other ones are 45 minutes to an hour wait. So
Right. I think there's opportunities to make that a better connection going forward.
Other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Do you guys want these ones? I know you were asking about the.
Copies
maybe
of the report?
maybe if we just have one
One?
for the minutes, for
yeah.
Ms. Levering to have a hard copy. And
And it's on the lap, or it's on the PC, so we have.
right. Thank you. So Director Marchant, Downtown Riverfront Development Plan.
All right. So I have a very short PowerPoint for you. And largely I have these beautiful boards that are in front of you. This is, wow. All right, let's try a different surface. Thank you for having me here tonight. And James has certainly been a partner on this project as well. There's a memo that went out in your packets, I think last week, maybe the week before. And the city has kicked off just recently this downtown riverfront planning project. It's a master planning project. It's a very short timeline that's kind of intense, and the goal is to create an implementable project or projects at the end. So we have put out an RFP last fall and selected Halverson Design Group out of Boston and Horsley Witten Group, and I must say they've been nothing but phenomenal to work with so far. And we also then partnered with Co-Urbanize. So we have this amazing website that I'm going to start with, and it's actually wasn't clicking from here earlier, so I have it right here. So we have this great website, Co-Urbanize Nashua, that is set up to really collect a lot of the data from this project. So we are going to a lot of different groups, talking to a lot of different people, and we're trying to get an immense amount of information in a short amount of time, and we need to organize it. And this website is a really cool way to do that. So as you go to this website, which is available, Co-Urbanize Nashua, if you Google it, we have links on the website and many different ways to get to there. But basically, look at all these awesome dots. It has the study area, which is in the slightly lighter color. It's not zooming out, which shows our main study area is the downtown. It starts just south of Gate City Fence, Ledge Street, includes most of the mill yard, the edge of Mine Falls Park, certainly. It follows the downtown to the Main Street Bridge right around here. And then, right around here. It was a little early there. And then past Jackson Falls Dam, down past BAE, and project area ends right at the bridge, Canal Street Bridge, past BAE. So this is the focus area of this project, and the goal is to be here with you now in the next week or so, a little bit more. We're collecting basic ideas and comments from people. And as you can see, it's organized. The blue dot is what's great, if you want to add a comment. Purple is what's missing, and orange is what could be better. So we're just looking for really big ideas at the moment. And then what will happen in about a week or two is Halverson with us, we'll sit down and we'll go through the majority of the comments. And they're going to create some visualizations of what people are talking about. What do we need to do better? What's different? What's great? And we'll have some beautiful visuals of how things could look different and how we would want to do it. They've also did a drone flight last week of the river, of this whole area. And so they'll be able to put the visualizations of changes and ideas right into the drone flight, so that we should be able to come back to you in the middle of May with some ideas generated by the public that we can say, yeah, this is what we were thinking. We do like this. We don't like this. And then from there, we'll do a little bit more public outreach, and hoping to have all this wrapped up by June to have a final plan in front of you for July that'll have a list of projects and things we want to do with basic cost outlines and prioritization. Ooh, sorry about that. So if you click on any one of these dots, let's see, what did I get here? You get an idea about that somebody put in, and it does say City of Nashua, but these are mostly from the kickoff meeting the other night, a bunch were put in, and then somebody can comment on it and say, oh, I do like this, I don't like this, or what about this? And so it's a really nice kind of crowdsourcing platform to talk about different ideas. I know over in here, there's a lot of comments about, let's see, about signage, getting people through. A lot of the talk has been, you know, how do we connect? Nobody knows that Mine Falls Park is right here. How do we connect Mine Falls Park better to the Riverwalk that's existing here? I mean, we have an amazing resource of miles of trails, 300 acres. We're connecting Mine Falls shortly to the Heritage Rail Trail here. How can we connect it better to the downtown waterfront? They're really very close to each other, but people can't see them. There's all kinds of, let's see if I can click on another one here, talking about how we can better connect things. And it's really awesome that people are building off of each other's comments on ideas. So the website is our main way to collect information. It also has, under this info page, basic overview of the project, and it has all these plans that you see kind of standing up in front of you here that you can open and download. They're rather large as they're pictures, so I'm not going to do that at the moment. And it also will give you updates and timeline for the project. So it's a pretty comprehensive website. As you look at this or think about this, if you have ideas about your riverfront and downtown, please come to this website and add in your information. We encourage everybody to do so and to share this with friends or people who might be interested, because there's a whole lot of feedback we'd like to get, and to really, the more we get, the better off this plan's going to be. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and just run through a couple other pieces of this, I think. So we have a lot of opportunities downtown in our waterfront, and really a big piece of this is the economic development, and how do people know that we have this gorgeous river right here? We don't interact with it quite enough. And so there's the project area that I just talked about there, some of the connections that already exist that we'd like to improve upon. And then we've basically broken it down into the 4 quads, and the boards are in front of you so we can go look at them afterwards, because it doesn't come out that well up there. You can see, but basically the first quad is the mill yard. It goes from Gate City fence location here and the future pedestrian bridge, which is going right here, to the Mine Falls Park connection and all of the mill yard area. So here's the Broad Street Parkway, clock tower right here. And you can see the Cotton Transfer Bridge here, which is the walkway around the riverfront. And so it's really not far to this connection right here to Mines Falls Park, but nobody knows about it. So these are some of the comments we're getting, and kind of all these little call outs are ideas about what we could do. We do have a little plug for this Saturday, the 22nd at 11 a.m. There's a new public boat launch opening. And so Mr. Spelios, the owner of Millyard Tech Park, has entered into a license agreement with the city and is allowing public boating access from that location. And so we'll have an opening of that at 11 a.m. on Saturday. So more ideas like that. A lot of people want access to the river. He's also allowing people to park in his parking lot for free associated with that. So Quadrant 2 is the main downtown, Greeley and Cotton. A lot of conversation is going on about what is the future of the Greeley House. We've heard that in many different areas, whether we were talking about performing arts or downtown, the new Brady Sullivan redevelopment of some of those mill buildings, and the French Park, the Renaissance. It has been so activated by all kinds of amazing community events and the farmers market and music festivals. And there's a lot of activity happening there, and it's really got a lot more potential to interact with the river and be in more ideal public space. So there's a lot of conversation going on about that. So a lot of the ideas you'll see on this one relate to that and how we can better connect to the river within this area. Quadrant 3, Jackson Falls. So the dam, which is at Margaritas, is here, the hydro dam, and then so it's from the Main Street Bridge. There's the cantilevered bridge here that from Peddler's Daughter down past Jackson Falls condos that was always intended to go off of all 4 sides of the bridge, to go off Riverside Barbecue, to go from Bicentennial Park around 4 Water Street, and then to go around the Telegraph Building and down towards the library to connect to the library walk. So talking about those connections that are still very much of interest to the public. A lot of talk about the library walk, that it's not the safest walk right now, and how can we open it up, kind of get more light in there, whether it's natural light during the day by removing some of the canopy cover or adding lights, and really allowing this to be a much safer walkway. And certainly partnering with BAE, we've had conversations with them several times over the years. They'd like much better passage through their parking lot for the employees there, but also for the many people who walk across the railroad bridge and are trying to walk towards downtown. And so they're very interested in furthering conversations with us along that route. Yes.
Didn't we sign a easement or something along that whole BAE parking lot, like within the past year? Is there a land swap of sorts?
We had discussions about it in the past year. Yeah, nothing's been finalized and signed. But there certainly were some discussions about that in the past. Yes, so we'd like to kind of move that.
Because I thought
I think you may be thinking of the section that connects across from the walkway past Jackson Falls to the Margaritas lot. We reached an agreement.
Yeah, for sure, okay. Yeah, maybe when that came up, the discussion of that BAE section was going on.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to zoom in on here, but BAE painted, you can almost kind of see it here. They painted a walkway through the middle at the end of those lots there, and it's not ideal. They have, there's 2,000-3,000 people working there who want to interact with downtown on a regular basis and have lunch and get out and use our retail and shops, and how can we better connect them? And certainly we've had a lot of conversations about connecting along the riverside, a walk on the riverside. And we just, I think that they're actively interested in this conversation, I'll say that. So we just need to kind of move it forward there. And now the city's in full ownership of the dam and all of that area as well, so. And then the last piece is kind of focusing on our future connections. So it's from the railroad bridge past that, down, oh my goodness, Temple, past Temple, right? What's the name of it? I lost the road here, but there are a little bit of bike connection is there. Here in this area, we're really looking to continue the path towards the Merrimack. There's another, beautiful oxbow here, like the one opposite Milliard Technology, that's all just forested at this point. And there's a lot of bullet points about, can we connect this all the way down, sorry, the mouse is not cooperating, towards the Merrimack River. And also making sure that we're connecting downtown and the pedestrian access to the future rail station. It is right, if I could get the mouse to cooperate, it's like right here is our future rail station. So close. So making sure that these walkways and areas are all connected to really align everything together, and looking at how that connects to the river, I think is a really important part of how we're moving this forward. So we do have a lot of information on all the, say, environmental constraints, utility constraints in the areas that are also up underneath the website on that information page. There's tons of great maps showing you like where the major drainage is, where we have gas lines and power lines and easements and things that we have to worry about in developing some of these ideas to make sure that we're not coming up with something that's too constrained to actually work. And that's the end of this for now. If you have any questions, I'm happy to.
Questions, comments? Alderman Lopez and Alderman Moriarty.
Yeah, I just want to comment. The area on the other side of the footbridge could definitely use even one light when you're actually crossing onto the southern side of it. That area is very, very dark. It's behind an abandoned knife store, so that just adds to the tone. And there's a lot of community messaging going on in the back of that wall, which if you're coming in from the other side and you're just like, oh, where does this bridge go? Then you might feel like you're a little bit out of sorts there. And the reality is that little spot is a great trailhead. If it were developed a little bit or cleaned up, it would be a great entry point into the library walk itself, which is very nice during the day.
Yeah.
It's a nice wilderness walk. Once you get to the end of it, you go up some stairs next to the library where some kids recently stenciled on inspirational quotes. You'd have to be looking right down to see them. But it's a really nice area that's underused just because the entry point to it is pretty creepy, basically.
Alderman Moriarty.
I noticed the AICP at the end of your name. I think the previous speaker also had an AICP. What is that acronym?
The American Institute of Certified Planners.
Okay.
So we're both, officially planners.
Did you plan that out?
We did. It's quite the test.
Comments, questions? So,
Oh, I have one question.
Alderman Lopez.
The area that we were talking about for potentially connecting I think if I understood what we were talking about, right, the rail trail to the potential commuter rail, is that what you were describing along East Hollis?
Yes.
That has more immediate utility too, because I've heard a lot of like when the rail trail comes, or when the commuter rail comes in, and like that's not exactly around the corner, but there is a development happening on Marshall Street, which enhancing the walkability of that will keep people from walking down East Hollis, like in the road, the way we kind of experienced with West Hollis when the trails aren't necessarily cleared. Plus, it'll connect people in Crown Hill to downtown with a safer, easier way to get back and forth. And there's really not a lot of services for people in Crown Hill in that area, so it would be something that is immediately usable for a lot of people.
Agreed. This is actually north of that, but and you're speaking of the all the acquisitions of the former rail trail that are, it's just parallels East Hollis Street. And yes, absolutely. So we do have easements or right of way in that area, but we're just actively keeping an eye out for grant money to finish the trail. It is in the CIP. It's just not something that we've been able to fund yet, but absolutely that is a key corridor that will also go to the future rail station, but just to that neighborhood in general, just as the Heritage Rail Trail has been for downtown on this side of the main street already. Agreed.
Alderman McCarthy.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see this is going on. Looking at the little arrows from the survey, I only counted 6 blue ones. And when I looked at some of them, they generally take the form, this is great, but, and then describe some shortcoming. And there's more purple ones than I can count, which indicates to me 2 things. 1, we've neglected the river about long enough. And 2, there is tremendous interest in having access and making it a good place to be.
Thank you. Yeah.
You mentioned that, I think I heard you correctly, there are going to be some other public opportunities.
Yes.
Do you have dates, times, locations?
I don't have specific dates yet. It's probably going to be the week in May, the week of the 17th, but I haven't been able to nail down an exact date yet, but that will be another public meeting. If you go onto the website and you have to basically give an email address to put any points in, we can notify you when that meeting's coming, when we're going to have the next public meeting. The other beauty is that time is so constrained that if you go to the website, anything that we post at that meeting or discuss at that meeting will be posted on this website. Under that info page, you'll be able to pull up all the images, you'll be able to pull up the drone video footage that we use. So the website is very accessible and it's useful for people who can't make public meetings very easily. We're also, we're talking to all the property owners in the district. We're going out and meeting with them, like Clock Tower and Cotton Mill, and offering information to everybody who lives in this area. We're really trying to go to them to try and pull a lot of information out, directing everybody to this website. So we're doing all the rounds that way as well, and we're hitting some community groups. We had some great coverage from GAD through some of their things, and so we're trying to overlap with a lot of different groups to see if we can get the most reach possible.
Okay, so if people want to participate, unless they're living at Cotton Mill or they're part of a group, the best thing to do is to go onto the website and
Yep.
provide their information that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Provide your information that way, and we can let you know when the meeting is in May. Again, the info page here has everything that anybody would see at any other meetings. Here's all the plans. It talks about the overall goal and timeline. Updates are posted here, and you can see everybody's comments. You can check out other people's ideas.
Right.
You can sort them by category. You can comment on other people's ideas. So please check those things out and let us know.
Okay, and the meeting in May, the purpose, I know you said you were looking at the middle of May.
Yep.
To-
It would be to really look at some of the visualizations. So the first phase is just getting your feedback, and then they're going to do some of the visualizations. We'll have some more nice pictures and images, and so we can say, all right, this is what we heard from you. Is this what you were thinking would be happening? So, yep.
Okay, just so people know. Alderman McCarthy.
I just want to point out, anybody who's looking for the website, the easiest way to find it is Google co-urbanized Nashua, and it comes up at the top.
Yeah.
Alderman Lopez, Alderman Moriarty.
I just wanted to comment, based on Alderman McCarthy's comment, that there is a lot of growing guerrilla interest in the waterways and the use of them. When we were looking at these comments, I noticed several of the members are part of the Nashua Area Kayak Exploration Destination Naked group, and they've been growing steadily, and they usually have like a fleet of kayaks floating down the river. And I was just curious, has anybody really talked from economic development about trying to encourage a boathouse or a canoe rental or kayak rental thing along the river somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, this project is absolutely a partnership between community development, Waterways. Madeline would be here tonight, but she's on maternity leave, our Waterways manager, and economic development. And they've James and Tim, Director Cummings, have certainly had conversations out there about this. We're seeing a lot of feedback on it, and I think projects like this and getting all that feedback are helpful to help James and Tim have something to go to business people with, or to talk to them and say, see, there really is a demand for this kind of a service. Yep.
Alderman Moriarty.
Thank you. Where along the waterfront do we have easement already in place without trail, such that if you had, a dozen people with loppers and tree saws, that they could clear it? And the reason I'm asking is that's almost free trails. You don't need a grant.
Right. So along the river, you can't just cut trees and things, unfortunately. You have to be careful with, I guess a lot of it is shoreline exempt, but
A lot of it's what?
shoreline protection exempt,
Okay.
because it's an urbanized area. So the city has easements along, not on this edge of the riverfront, but there's that trail that comes back here, and we have trail easements through here. And we actually have, this is privately owned here, but back towards the library. The other areas that we don't have, I mean, there's a lot more areas that we don't have. The areas we do have along the river have largely been turned into trails of some kind or another. And there's other areas where we do have trails, like the library walk, but you need to be really careful about what you're doing, just because there's large amounts of asbestos underground. So, in thinking about removing trees or vegetation, we're not going to touch any roots. We'd need to have a plan to do that in such a way so that we don't break any of the barriers that have been put in or disturb any of the asbestos. So we have been able to do quite a lot of clearing, actually, right next to the dam, to keep a lot of the vegetation back from that, which FERC has also asked for as well. So that's been good. But I think we don't have an easement along this waterway, along BAE, the edge of BAE here. That would be huge. So I don't think there's much we can just do right now, unfortunately. It's a good idea, though. It'd be awesome.
Comments? Thanks. And
Yep.
this Sue will have so she can post it with the minutes?
Absolutely,
Okay,
yes.
great, thank
Yep.
you. Thank you. And as Director Marchant said, the boards are here that we can take a look at later, if you would like.
Just close all that down.
Yeah, we
Thank
need
you.
lights.
Lights here or over there? Do you know? They're over there. Sarah, could you just? This one? I think, I truly don't. No,
It's,
no, oh.
it's probably
maybe
on the-
over that one, over there.
by the other door.
Yeah, thanks. There, thank you, thanks.
No.
Ah,
Yeah.
Thanks. Perfect. Okay, so communication, we have none. Unfinished business, we have none. New business resolutions, none. We have new business and ordinance 017036, amending the accessory dwelling ordinance. It's scheduled for a public hearing on May 16th here, and it's also been assigned to the planning board. So Alderman McCarthy?
I would move to hold pending the public hearing.
Okay, you've all heard the motion to hold pending the public hearing?
Is that it? That's a hold, not a table.
Doesn't much matter, but
Yeah.
it was basically postponed to a time certain.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries, so we will hold that until the public hearing. General discussion? Anything? Seeing none. Public comment? None. Any additional remarks? Alderman Lopez.
Yep, I just wanted to comment on some economic development that happened this past week at in Ward 4. The formerly empty restaurant space by Palm Square is now occupied by the Arbor, and they're serving dinners right now, but I talked to the manager today, and they were thinking about adding lunches, and hopefully someday dinner or breakfast would be good. And then also this Saturday, we're hosting a 5K for veterans, starting in Mine Falls at the Mill Yard entrance. And that starts at 10 a.m.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? No need for a non-public. Do I have a motion? Alderman Moriarty?
I move to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, and we are adjourned at 7:52.